Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. As Jesus was passing through a field of grain on the Sabbath, his disciples began to make a path while picking the heads of grain. At this, the Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" He said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he was in need and he and his companions were hungry? How he went into the house of God when Abiathar was high priest and ate the bread of offering that only the priest could lawfully eat, and share it with his companions? Then he said to them, 'The Sabbath was made for men, not man for the Sabbath. That is why the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath.'" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Today, with the help of the readings, we are able to bring a word that it is called the covenant. And it is a covenant between man and God. But it is a covenant that it was proposed. It is a covenant that it has to be assumed. It is not given to us like by force. You have to, or you will die, or I will torture you. It is like in the words of the Holy Eucharist, "Do this in memory of me." It is an invitation. It is not actually like forcing you, but it is an invitation that involves and implies the salvation. The salvation. So the first reading, it is presenting that God has put it himself to honor the promise. So in the moment that he's making the oath to Moses with the 10 Commandments, he himself is telling, by myself, by my own power, by my word, he puts himself as a witness, God himself, to honor the promises. So it is no longer telling, "Oh, I will save you, I will someday remember." No, his very self, it is the guarantee of that. I remember in my country, it's not happening anymore, not so easy, but making an oath or promising something with your words, it was enough to be a guarantee. So, for example, grandfathers, they were saying, "I will be there at 5 p.m. They were there at 5 p.m. "I will help you with your debt." I honor my promise, and I will help you with my debt. Today, we need a legal system to make others pay, right? So, "Oh, I will help you." 2 days later, "Who are you?" Right? So we don't remember the things very well. It seems like the power of our own word, it has lost its own power. But in the first reading, God doesn't change. He's immutable. He's always fulfilling that promise. By my very self, I will bring salvation to you. Now, in that promise, there's something that it is called the rest of God. So he created all. And in the seventh day, he rests. He goes to rest. Why? Because God needs to rest. He gets tired? The gospel today, it's telling why. The Lord Jesus is telling the Sabbath, that is, the day to rest, was created for man, not man created for the Sabbath. So the day of rest, it is a day actually created for us. The day of rest today, we call it with the third commandment, to honor the feast days of the Lord. It is the equivalent to Sunday. So what is the purpose of that? It is a day, back again, to rejoice and rest in faith and in expecting the promises of God to be fulfilled. That is why we mark a day. Also because of the resurrection of the Lord. He comes back from the death on the seventh day. We honor that day every single week of the year. But it also involves that, the resting in him, the resting in thinking of him. It is a day to increase the relationship with him. So with those ideas, we are also able to understand why the Pharisees are failing in that gospel. So it is true. The disciples of Jesus, they are doing something that the law of humans was prescribing. So in the Jewish culture, on that Sabbath, you were not entitled even to walk more than 2 miles. So you needed to count your steps. They were not entitled to work, so picking grain because you're hungry. If your animal fall into a big hole, you were not supposed to go save the animal, and things like that are not logical. So the Lord was explaining to these Pharisees, you don't read. You don't remember the King David. He was hungry. What did he do? He enters the temple and he eats the bread of the poor priest, that it was only for him. Why? Because he was hungry. And another bread will come later. And God is supporting that decision. So it is not the sin of David. No, it is the logical. We were not created for the law. It is the law to protect us from the failures. You see, we were created to enjoy creation, not for creation to take over. Even, maybe we could say something more that brings more logic to the things that we are telling. We were not created to love things and to use people. It is the other way around. We are entitled to use things from creation and to love the neighbor. When we mix those two things, we love the things, and instead of that, people, not so much, things they get sad because it is not the plan of God. So we were created to love each other. And then the creation that God is sharing with us, like stewards of his creation, it is also a call to bring that, to bring the justice and the joy of God doing his will in all of us. The readings, as you can see, they really connect with the failure that we have because of the unborn, because of the abortion. Today, it is a day that in all the dioceses in the Catholic faith, we are praying so that that legal protection comes to them. Because from the moment that God breathed that spirit, they are already with him. They are already souls. They are already human beings. Oh, but it's in the size of less than an atom. Who cares? It's already a human being in the grace of God. So for us, I consider we are in a point that God will do something. Be sure of that. It has been many years, and as far as I have seen, I consider that we are in the bridge, in the brim of a good change to come. So let us profit of this invitation. Let us be in the team of God, if we can call that, right? Because everybody is there. But we need to unveil the eyes of all this nation and all the world, because it's a failure all over. And protect the creation of God. We were created for him. And in him, we go back to the graces of God.